Hello, and welcome to Boss Raid, the show where we take an in-depth look at the bosses of video games. And today, we're going to be looking at Resident Evil 7. Resident Evil 7 was released in 2017 and developed by Capcom. Despite being named Resident Evil 7, it's closer to the 24th game in the series. That being said, you don't really need to know anything about the series to get into this game. It plays out as its own story, taking place in the Resident Evil universe. Now before we begin, I'd like to mention that I'll be playing on the normal difficulty. On other difficulties, some things may be different, such as boss patterns, their health, how much ammo you'll have available going into a fight, things such as that. The game begins when Ethan Winters, played by you, gets a message from his wife, Mia, who was lost and thought to have died 3 years ago. He sets out to look for her, and finds himself in Louisiana at the Baker Ranch, where the game takes place. Though their house is said to have been abandoned, the Bakers are very much still living there, except something's not quite right. Ethan must work his way through the multiple areas of the Baker Ranch, fighting creatures and solving puzzles to rescue Mia and find out what exactly is going on. It doesn't take Ethan long to find Mia. She seems okay at first, but surprise! She's a horribly mutated monster now. She'll try to kill you with a knife, knock herself out, you know, the usual. You'll need to defend yourself from her, and all you have is an axe at this point. So just keep attacking her with it. Simply sidestepping and trying to stay behind her while swinging seems to work well, but she does have a nasty backswing attack. It's possible to defeat her here without taking damage by continuously walking in a circle around her while swinging. After you damage her enough, she'll grab you. Just keep attacking here, and Ethan will deliver a fatal blow to her neck, and Mia will fall to the ground, defeated. A short time later, you'll encounter Mia again in the attic. This time she'll be armed with a chainsaw, and Ethan will be missing a hand thanks to Mia and the aforementioned chainsaw. Thankfully, you'll have a gun for this fight. She's not too difficult to defeat here. Simply keep firing at her. She'll occasionally charge at you with the chainsaw, so it's best to keep your distance so you can try to run out of the way when she does. If she does too much damage to you, you'll enter a quick time scene where you have to fight her off. You can also run out of the room and close the door behind you. This will give you a few seconds to put some distance between you and Mia. You'll want to try to get headshots for maximum damage, so try to take your time aiming before you shoot. The easiest strategy I found for this fight was to turn around and run back and stand in the doorway as soon as you get off the ladder that triggers the fight. Mia will walk slowly towards you, giving you plenty of time to get many shots off. When she gets close, turn around and close the door behind you to give yourself enough time to run to the end of the hallway. Turn back around and wait for Mia to saw her way through the door, then keep shooting. If you run out of ammo, you'll have to rely on the axe that you hopefully pick back up after the first fight. Just for fun, I tried to see if I could kill her using only the axe. I took a ton of damage, but I was just barely able to do it. No sooner than finishing Mia off will Mr. Jack Baker make his appearance. He'll welcome Ethan to the family by knocking him out cold and dragging him away. Ethan will wake to find himself in the main house. This is where a large majority of the game takes place. After being chased around it for a while by Jack, you'll eventually have a showdown in the garage. The recently murdered deputy will drop his gun, and you can pick it up, but as far as I can tell, bullets won't work against Jack here, though they can stagger him. There's health in the locker if you need it for this fight. The strategy here is to try to get in the car as fast as possible and ram Jack with it. Make sure to grab the keys on the table first. If Jack's too close to the car, there's a chance he'll pull you out, and you'll have to try to get in again. After hitting Jack with the car a few times, he'll jump into the car and start forcing you to drive around sporadically. I'm not exactly sure how he's forcing you to drive here. I mean, his feet obviously aren't on the gas pedal. It's Ethan's feet that are on the gas pedal. But whatever. He'll end by driving the car into giant metal beams. They'll go through the windshield and hit Jack, but just miss beheading Ethan. After that, the car will catch fire and a flaming Jack will emerge and slowly make his way towards you. You can shoot to stagger him, but it doesn't really matter. The car will explode and Jack will fall to the ground. Just when you think you can get away, Jack will spring up and blow his own head off using the gun in your hand.
Do I have your attention, boy? You're about to see something wonderful. Oh, fuck!
He won't get up this time, and you can now freely explore the house without Jack chasing you around. At least, for now. Not too long after the last fight, you'll meet Jack once again. If you backtrack a bit before this fight, you can pick up a shotgun. I recommend clearing at least one of your equip slots before the fight begins so you don't have to waste time in the menu. This fight can be difficult, so I recommend going into it with at least 2 first aid meds and as much shotgun ammo as possible. There are 2 stages to this fight. Jack will start by slowly walking around with his axe weapon thing. This stage is pretty easy. You can try to kick the hanging bags to stagger him, and bullets will occasionally cause stagger as well. Just shoot Jack while keeping your distance. If you see a disgusting growth mutate out of his shoulder, focus your attacks on it. After damaging him enough, Jack will rip open the fence and equip himself with a crazy chainsaw weapon. You'll also have access to a less crazy chainsaw of your own at this point. Ethan's regained his hand by now, so sadly no awesome chainsaw hands, a la Ash Williams. This stage of the fight is much more difficult than the first. Jack becomes much harder to dodge and deals huge damage. You can still kick the bags, but Jack may cut some of them down. He'll also charge, so you have to balance keeping your distance and attacking up close. The strategy I found was to use the handgun during the first stage of the fight. When Jack mutates, pull out the shotgun and shoot him once. That should be enough to get him to go to the fence and enter the second stage of the fight. When he does, run over to it and grab the chainsaw, but don't use it just yet, equip the shotgun instead. Try to keep your distance and keep shooting at Jack, trying for headshots. When he mutates, run up to him and use the thrust attack with the chainsaw. Back off when he gets up and start shooting with the shotgun again. Keep repeating this until you run out of ammo. Expend the shotgun ammo first, then the handgun ammo. When you're completely out of ammo, you'll have to run up to him and use the chainsaw to melee. Try to flank him, and use the hanging bags to your advantage. His movement can be very unpredictable and hard to dodge. Note that you can actually stall the chainsaw's engine from overuse, and will have to restart it, which can take time. If you have to do this, try to get as far away from Jack as possible. There's a first aid med in the corner if you need it. You can also break open the box on the floor for, I believe, randomized ammunition, either shotgun or handgun. You can get lucky during the second stage, and his AI will have trouble finding you, and you'll have an easy fight. Or, like me, he'll have no problems finding you and making life difficult. Just keep at it and eventually Jack will go down. Next we have Jack's lovely wife, Marguerite. You'll find her in the greenhouse area. Hopefully you've saved up a good supply of shotgun shells and flamer fuel, as she has a lot of health. I also recommend going into this fight with at least 3 first aid meds. She'll first surprise attack you on the staircase. Just shoot her here and continue up the stairs. Once you get to the top floor, she should announce herself and move towards you. Her weakness is what I like to call her delicious yummy area, because doesn't that just look appetizing? You'll want to unload on her here with your shotgun as much as possible. When you can't hit the delicious yummy area, go for headshots instead. She'll switch between attacking and hiding off screen. While she's hiding, she'll spawn in flies. They can be annoying, so try to take them out quickly. The trick is to hold still so they'll stop moving around long enough for you to knife them. She can also spawn in a swarm. Take these out immediately so you don't have to deal with them and Mrs. Baker at the same time. You can die from not being able to heal, from being stun-locked by swatting animations. Whenever you see a swarm, pull out the flamer and take care of them. The flamer also works decently well against Mrs. Baker. It's important to keep weapons fully loaded in this fight. The shotgun only holds 4 rounds and is slow to reload, so get as many shots off as you can before she runs away. And when she does run, reload immediately before any flies spawn in. She also has a few grab attacks and can pull you down to the lower level. If you need supplies, there are a bunch of them around, especially in the back half of the first floor. You can grab the psychostimulants on the couch right before the staircase leading to the fight. Take them if you start running low on supplies or health, but make sure it's safe before you take them. A good time would be right after Mrs. Baker runs away. There are at least 3 first aid meds and a bunch of flamer fuel to find. This fight is probably easier than the previous Jack fight. The flies can make it much more difficult, so again, take them out as quickly as possible. Once you've depleted all of her health, Mrs. Baker will trouble you no more. Next up is the Fat Molded, aptly named Fat Man. Though this could be considered more of a mini-boss, the way it's presented makes it feel more like an actual boss fight. Anyway, the barn fight, as it's called, begins with the Molded lowering from the elevator. You can actually shoot him while he's still on the elevator. Fat Man will chase you around. He's not very fast, but make sure you keep your distance. If he gets too close, he can knock you down and get on top of you, and you'll have to fight him off through quick time events. He spits some sort of liquid at you, I'm assuming some kind of acid based on the way it sounds, and the fact that it damages you. The hay bales offer a good place to hide when he's spitting. The grenade launcher equipped with fire rounds will make quick work of Fat Man here, but it's not necessary. I recommend saving your ammo and just shooting him in the head with the M21 shotgun. You could also use the M37 shotgun, but you really should have the upgrade by now. The handguns are of course viable as well, but will take a little longer. I was also able to kill him by emptying 2 full flamer clips into the Fat Man. This might be better if you want to conserve shotgun ammo, but it's a little slower. Again, the best way here is probably the M21. Once he's dead, he'll explode and damage you, so don't instinctively run up to the body like I did. Note you'll also fight him again later, but you'll have much better firepower, and he's more of an obstacle at that point than a boss. Once he's dead, the elevator opens and it's off to the next area. Once again, we find ourselves fighting Jack, except he looks a little different this time. The idea here is to shoot all the eyes on his body. Each eye takes several shots before it pops. There are 2 floors here, and Jack will move between them throughout the fight. His attacks are very difficult to avoid because of his reach. The trick is to stay away from its front view. When his appendage that most looks like a head is looking at you, this means he's about to strike. When this happens, try to get as far to his side and behind him as possible, or if you're on the upper level, you can quickly drop to the lower level in case of an emergency. Just run around shooting at his eyes until they pop, while trying to avoid getting in front of Jack. If you pop off his face eye, he can occasionally spit a damaging liquid at you. I wonder if it's the same liquid that the Fat Man was spraying. There are also a few eyes that you can only hit when he's on the upper level from below. There are a few crates in the corners with supplies if needed. Once you've popped all the eyes, Jack will completely destroy the upper level, and you'll now be in kind of a second stage to the fight. You'll be in a very confined space, but there are a bunch of crates here, some containing health if you need them. Just shoot at Jack's face here. I was using the M21 and I almost died because Jack attacks almost faster than it takes to reload, so you might want to switch to the M37 or even another weapon. It won't take much to finish off Jack at this point. After the fight, Ethan will inject Jack with the cure, ensuring that he will no longer be a threat. Our final boss is Evelyn. Ethan will inject her with a special serum and she'll reveal her true form. No, not that. That! This is Evelyn's first stage. Not much you can do here but unload on her. It can be difficult, but try to get headshots here. I like the shotgun for this stage as it's the perfect range and you can do a lot of damage. Hopefully you've done enough damage by the time she reaches you. If you haven't, it's game over. If you have, she'll knock you out of the house and onto the front yard. After that, she'll grow into a huge form and start swiping at you with her tendrils. Continue to go for headshots. For this stage of the fight, it seems like every gun is equally effective. I had a ton of machine gun ammo, so I mostly stuck with the P19. After damaging her some more, she'll tenderly grab your leg and pull you up into the air. Keep going for headshots. She'll try to defend herself, just keep shooting towards her face and blast the tendrils out of the way. Around this point in the fight, a military helicopter will be flying by and toss down a gun for Ethan to use. After Evelyn drops you, pick the gun up and once again start blasting at her face. 5 or so shots from this gun will be enough to defeat Evelyn and complete the game. And that's it for Resident Evil 7. Some very interesting boss fights here. They really change the gameplay, which, outside of a random molded or two here and there, is mostly focused on exploration and puzzle solving. These bosses can be challenging, but one thing I noticed, at least in a few of the fights, is there's a degree of randomness that can make fights either almost unbeatable or disappointingly easy. And as for the final boss, Evelyn was visually very interesting to fight, especially the first time playing, but the fight itself is super easy, maybe even easier than the first Mia fight. It works well for the game as an ending, but it left me wishing that it was just a little bit more difficult. Maybe it's time for me to do a playthrough on Madhouse. Anyway, that's it for this episode of Boss Raid. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time on Boss Raid.